Hey there. I just wanted to let you know that next week I will be offering a free live VBAC prep workshop called Three Steps to Have an Empowered VBAC, even without a supportive provider. The two sessions will be on Wednesday, October 9th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The second session is Tuesday, October 15th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You don't have to attend both, you can attend either one. Or you can attend both if you'd like. Again, this will be live. Some of the things I'll be covering in the workshop are how to shift from fear and doubt to confidence and empowerment when it comes to your VBAC, the power of effective communication and boundary setting, and how you can still have a strong support system even without a supportive provider. This workshop is perfect for anyone, whether you're trying to conceive or currently pregnant and preparing for a VBAC. Again, the two dates currently being offered are Wednesday, October 9th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Tuesday, October 15th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to find out more and register for one of the workshop dates, please go to thehannahgill.com/workshop.
Hi, everyone. So we just got back from a family vacation and it was really busy and we were constantly on the go, but it was still nice to get away. I'm feeling semi relaxed. It was a very busy vacation, but we had a lot of fun. We went with my parents and my brother. We went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So it was a lot of fun. The kids had fun. It was tiring for them, but they had a lot of fun. So today we're going to be talking about a topic that I talked quite a bit about last month on my Instagram, but I recently archived the majority of my posts. So the post isn't there anymore, but I talked about it in my stories a little bit. And it's about how you know if you're done having kids. I feel like this is a question that so many of us have. We may ask ourselves this question. We may ask others this question. We may ask Google this question. Like, how do you know if you're done having kids? I really wanted this to live on the podcast because I feel like it's an important topic that so many of us probably resonate with and are feeling. So that's why I wanted to talk about it here. And you may be feeling this if you have one child or five children or however many kids you have, or if you're questioning on if you want kids at all. This is something that I feel like we all feel at some point. And I've seen so many women ask this question. How do you know when you're done? How did you know when you were done? And if you relate to anything that I have to say, or if you're feeling the same way, please let me know. I would love to talk about it more. I'm your host, Hannah Gill, and this is Motherhood Flow. So for the last several months, really, I've just been struggling with the question of, do I want to have a third baby? Do I want to have more kids or do I want to be done? And I really thought my primary struggle was with the fact of like, are we going to have a third baby? But then after sitting for a while and really reflecting on this and processing it, I realized what I'm truly struggling with is acknowledging this and admitting that I don't really want a third baby. I don't personally feel that need or desire to have another. And I think I was worried because by acknowledging this fact, that means I would have to accept that the having babies phase of my motherhood journey is likely over. And I was almost scared to move on to just that raising babies phase. But when I think about it, and I really already am in the raising babies phase. As soon as you have a baby, you begin raising it. And for a while, the two phases overlap. And I think I was trying to convince myself that I truly wanted a third baby so that I could stay in the having babies phase. And I was looking to other people, friends, family, people online to give me a reason to have another. Like, yeah, you definitely want a third because I would feel so guilty and awful for not wanting another baby when so many women are having difficulty having their own children. I have the capacity and the health and the situation currently where I can have more children. So if I don't do that, that makes me a bad person because I'm not grateful for that ability to have more children. And I know that's probably ridiculous to say, but that is one of the fears I was having. And one thing I heard a lot when I was talking to people and looking things up online is you'll never regret having another baby, but you may regret not having another one down the line. And I get this and I understand why many people would feel this way and say this. But if we did have a third, I'm not going to be mad or upset or regret having that child. But I personally don't feel the urge to consciously choose the path to have another. And many of the reasons I don't want a third baby could be seen as selfish or just temporary inconveniences that are only going to exist in the short term and not long term. And some of these are like, I don't like being pregnant. My pregnancies are really rough. I get very sick. So I just don't like being pregnant. And the thought of having to do that again just already makes me nauseous. I'm ready to have my body to myself again, between pregnancy and breastfeeding and postpartum in general. I'm ready to just have my body for me and not have to grow and feed another baby. And again, that could sound selfish. I want to be able to devote my time, love, energy, and attention to my family without feeling spread too thin. Like, I don't want to feel like I barely have any one-on-one time for myself, my kids, my husband. I don't want to feel so like my days are so jam-packed where I can't truly process what's happening and enjoy it and feel like I'm spread too thin for responsibilities. I'm also, for me personally, I'm concerned about childcare. And I want to note this. I, my husband and I are in a very great situation with a support system. Both of our moms are our current childcare. They watch our children. And I know many, many people do not have that. That is a privilege. And it is something that not everyone has. And I don't take that lightly on how lucky we are to have our moms to watch our children. But at the same time, yes, we do have that. But I would feel guilty asking our mothers to watch a third child. And I know eventually our older two will be in school and they'll be in school eventually, but they have their own lives. Our moms have their own lives, and we are so, so thankful for them for watching our two children that we already have. And just the thought of asking them to watch a third just doesn't sit right with us. And this is my personal opinion, and I know other people do not have an option, but I can't put a newborn baby in daycare or with someone that I don't trust and know. So that is just off the table for me. That's something I'm not going to do. In that situation, I would likely have someone come to our home, someone that I trust and know to watch the third baby or however that may look in our dynamic and our situation. But I just personally do not feel comfortable doing that. So I am concerned about the whole childcare aspect and the cost of the childcare aspect. So that's another one. And then another concern or fear or worry or whatever you want to call it is that I'm finally in a good place again, mentally and physically. So after my first pregnancy, I had birth trauma, had postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, had really, really rough mental and physical postpartum. After my second, I didn't have really any of that. Obviously, there was still a physical recovery. For those of you that don't know, my first was a C-section with a lot of birth trauma. My second was a VBAC. I did not have any trauma or any issues from that. Generally, a great physical recovery as well, but I'm finally in a good mental state for the most part, and I still have some anxiety here and there, but I think that's just part of being a mom. Um, but I'm also in a good physical state again. I was having some health issues back at the beginning of the year. I had gained a lot of weight, and I just wasn't exercising, and I wasn't eating healthy. And I'm to the point again where I'm exercising and I just feel good again. And I know getting pregnant will take that in opposite direction. Another concern I have is, and this is probably the biggest one, that is more of like it could be more long term, it could also be short term, but I just have this worry that having a third baby could potentially impact my marriage negatively. I already don't feel like we have the time and space to even have a conversation with each other at this time. I know that's temporary, that's just in our present time because when the kids are around, they need our attention. toddlers aren't the greatest at not interrupting you, or allowing you to have alone time. But so I already feel like we don't have a lot of time just to just have conversations with each other. Our son sometimes has sleep struggles where he doesn't end up falling asleep till much later. And my husband gets up early for work, so he goes to bed pretty early. And then we just don't have time together. So, and again, we are very picky about who we choose to watch our children. And since our mothers and our families already watch the kids during the week, it's also like, well, we don't want to ask them all the time for like date nights or anything like that or extra. So I know that's kind of an us issue. Like we could prioritize things differently or change things. But in general, I just feel like at least temporarily having a third baby would impact our marriage negatively. Again, that could be seen as a selfish thing, but that is a worry I really do have. And then there's the little things like traveling with three kids or being out in public alone with three kids. Like, how do you manage that? Like, three kids at one time. Right now, I can hold my son's hand and carry my daughter or whatever I need to do. Two is easy to manage with both of us. If they're both fussy, we can each take one. So, stuff like that. And the thought of having to get a bigger car or a bigger house, or how are we going to be able to afford to go on the type of family vacations we want to go on with three kids and being able to afford that versus two. And I know that's a very like privileged worry. Some people can't even afford to go on vacation ever. I understand that this is our current situation. This is the things I think about. Traveling is very important to me and my husband. We want to have these types of experiences with our children, and the thought of having to afford a third one and the logistics of having three kids and traveling with them just seems like a lot, at least temporarily. So all those little things too. And like, how do I manage to go to the grocery store or whatever, or go out and about with three kids and I only have two hands? And I know that may not be rational, but to me, it seems rational to think about and worry about. A lot of my friends have four plus children and they manage it, and I know you make it work, but just the thought of having to make it work stresses me out a little bit. Another question I was asked is, how do you think you would feel if the chance was taken away from you to have more children? And my husband and I asked ourselves this, and we both said we would likely feel content in that because neither of us really feel a huge push to have a third. But obviously, we aren't in that situation, so things could be different. But we have two beautiful children, and they're healthy, and we are so, so grateful for them. Nobody is guaranteed or owed children, so we know how lucky we are to have the two that we have and that they are healthy. And right now, I'm truly happy with our life and our family dynamic. It's getting to that point where it seems pretty easy right now. Like we have struggles. I know every stage of parenthood and the different stages, the ages of children, they all come with their own hard. There's always going to be a hard phase. And but right now it just feels pretty easy. We're getting sleep because overall our children sleep great. My son's 4.5, my daughter's two, she'll be 2.5 in December. And it just feels a little bit easier right now that I'm out of that like immediate year postpartum and she's becoming a little bit more independent. So I don't feel incomplete or like our family is lacking anything. I can imagine our future life as the kids grow up and our day-to-day changes as they get older and they get into school and activities and those types of things. And one day, like that day-to-day could include the addition of a third baby potentially. I don't know. But right now, I'm just wanting to pour my heart and soul into the two children I have, as well as myself in my marriage. I know this is something that a lot of women and mothers are probably struggling with themselves, but the fathers may be experiencing this as well. And this is one of the other issues that arises is that I had this realization that I don't really feel like I want a third baby, but my husband always has wanted a third baby. He's always wanted three. I've always wanted two. There was like a blip of time where I felt like, okay, like I could have a third. I do want a third. And now I just don't feel that desire to have a third one, but my husband still does. And there's days where he's extra stressed and he's like, oh, maybe we should stop it too. But he says he looks like at the long term in the future. And the way he describes it, he's like, I imagine our family photos in the future, and I always see a third baby there, or a third child, or however that may look in the future. So that's another point of struggle is I know he wants a third. He would never pressure me to have a third if I didn't want one. So we're having to navigate that as well. We also know that we want to both be done having children, regardless of however many we had by a certain age. And that's not for any specific reason other than we just don't want to be having babies forever. We want to have a time where our children are grown and out of the house and we can enjoy each other and our lives in a different phase of our life. And we don't want to have our children really spread apart either as far as age. But that's just another point that I have to think about is I may not want a third baby, but my husband still potentially does. And that's conversations we need to have. And a lot of my worries and my concerns, I do admit they are temporary and they're short term. And if I could get past that short term, I do think having a third child in the long run, I would be happy with. I don't know for sure, but I could imagine having three kids in the future when they're in high school or whatever. But just the, I feel overwhelmed thinking about the short term difficulty and the short term hard and the short term stress, like getting past that for a third time, because I think three is just such a big leap from two. I know it's just obviously one additional number, but the things that have to change to have a third just seems like a lot to me. And I know there are people that are thinking the same things going from three to four or four to five or however many kids that you're questioning, basically. And it's okay to feel these things. And I want you to know that you're not alone in feeling these things. And just like anything I talk about on this podcast, you're not alone. Someone out there is feeling it. Like there's a reason why this comes up as a common search on Google. So just know that you're not alone in how you're feeling and that it's okay to feel however you're feeling. And although I'm feeling this way, like I had mentioned, I'm not going to be upset if I were to get pregnant and we were to have a third baby. Like I'm not going to get upset about that. I'm not going to regret that child and not wish I didn't have this child or anything like that. I just don't feel like I can consciously make the decision to say, yes, I want a third baby. Let's try to conceive because I just don't feel that pull. I don't feel that urge. And I feel like no matter what, like down the road, because I have a maternal instinct and I love babies. I'm just always going to be like, oh, cute little baby. I wish I had another baby just because babies are cute and they smell good and you want to cuddle them. But do I really want another baby? It's different when it's someone else's baby and versus when you have the responsibility to grow and feed and take care of that child. So yeah, I just wanted to put all that out there and have it live on the podcast because it's something that's been like filling my mind and really taking over my thoughts and worries and fears the last several months. And I just wanted to get it out there for those of you that may be feeling the same way. And even if you're not feeling the same way, I hope you are able to take something from this in my thought process. So thank you guys for listening. Please let me know if maybe you're going through the same struggle, something similar, or maybe an opposite struggle. Maybe you're like, I want to have all the babies, but I can't, or I'm not able to, or we can't afford it, or my husband doesn't want any more babies and I want 10 babies. Whatever you're feeling, you're not abnormal, you're not alone. Other people are thinking it too and feeling the same way as you. So again, thank you for listening. Message me if you related to anything in this episode. And just real quick, for those of you that are enjoying the show, if you could please subscribe, write a written review on Apple Podcast, leave stars, write a review on Spotify, share this with friends and family on Instagram or other social media. That's the way to grow the show. That is the way to get it out there to those who need it and who may enjoy it. So I really appreciate you guys. And until next time, keep flowing. You just finished another episode of Motherhood Flow. For more, head over to thehannahgill.com or on Instagram @thehannahgill. As a reminder, this podcast is provided to you for educational and entertainment purposes only. It should not be considered a substitute for medical advice. Until next time, keep flowing.